Eric Britz here with the Hypocrisy of UFC 304. Now, guys, I'm going to make this shorter because I did 3 attempts before this, going for like 15 minutes. Okay, let me get right into the meat and potatoes. So first off, I have Bilal Muhammad's record right here, just to give you guys some context and why I feel I have a strong foundation to stand upon when I say I'm kind of a fan of his, and I always was. Now, well, let's say it like this. I'm a fan of his fighting style. His personality is a bit cringy. And in my previous ranty video, I said, as a person, I would now and again casually have conversations with him, but I wouldn't be engaged with him if we spoke. And that's fine. You don't need to like a fighter in that way to respect them as a fighter and know when they're going to win, know when they're going to lose. Now, I'm bringing all of this up because all the fans that was hating since 2021, yeah, well, it's the surge of new fans that I'm talking about, but everybody was hating on him. They were ragging on Bilal. A few months ago, I defended him in Afraid About Leon Edwards versus him, and people just told me straight like, you're stupid, you don't know anything about fighting, casual, typical insult, etc. And I was just like, geez, these guys are so blinded by their own egos and personal vitriol versus Bilal that they can't think objectively. They're thinking with their hearts and deciding with their hearts. They're not really thinking with their minds. And I said it would be quite sad if he doesn't win in a way. And I felt it's most likely him not going to be winning, but he's going to put up a good fight. That was what my main argument was. I told these guys, Bilal has a chance to win. Like, you don't need to hate the guy to see that he's a good fighter. And also, you shouldn't let your bias blind your judgment. And these guys, they do this really bad. But now here's the problem. Now Bilal won, and everybody's his fan. I'm one of the top comments on his post-fight presser. Sorry, my nose is itchy. And I have 168 likes and it's climbing. And I said, and everyone is Bilal fan suddenly, with a laughing emoji. Because all of these people suddenly swapped their position. They were suddenly like, oh my goodness, he's the GOAT. He's the welterweight GOAT. We always knew he's going to win. Leon sucks. I already saw that kind of post and people were like, this is quite sad. Like really, I just saw it that Leon wasn't that good. I saw another post about Islam suddenly just ragdolling and destroying him, which I understand the argument for, but again, different fighters, really not that easy. And circumstances, there's a lot of circumstantial stuff here. Now, let me just tell you guys something. I've been watching UFC since 2008 when I was a kid. I remember I watched all the Anderson Silva videos back then. Pride. Pride wasn't Pride anymore at that time. I remember that. We had a streaming service showing the Japanese fights. And I remember back then seeing Fedor destroy people and stuff. And I was like, holy cow. Crow Cop, all those guys. So I watched then until 2011 when I got sick. 2 years in hospital. Came out. Didn't focus on fighting again. Like, at all. I remember I swapped the leaf over. If you know my personal history, you understand why. But then I got back into it because the people around me, yeah, and I've been watching since 2014 again. So I was a full-blown fan since then. And I remember watching him for the first time, Bilal Muhammad now. I watched him for the first time versus Alan Jouban. And I remember I actually picked him to win. But then he lost. I didn't watch his Augusto fight. I remember it was on the prelim fight night. See, that's why. Yeah, Poirier versus Johnson. I didn't watch it. I remember I just watched the MMA World video afterwards of these. And then the Luque fight, I watched that on UFC 205. I remember I was so shocked at how badly he lost there. I felt bad for him. And I remember I was like, I hope this doesn't stop him from going anywhere, like going places in the rankings, because I think he will be good. Randy Brown, I picked him to win. Jordan Main, I didn't watch, but I remember I thought he was going to win. Tim Means, I picked him to win, and I remember watching that. Chance Rencounter, I don't remember how to say it, but yeah, I don't remember. I didn't even watch that fight. I think it was in the time period Yeah, Rivera versus Moraes. See, yeah, no, I remember I watched the top part of that fight night. Jeff Neal, I actually picked him to win and he lost. I was shocked, in fact. Curtis Millender, didn't watch. Takashi Sato, I remember for a few fights I didn't watch because I said, hey, give him some chance to get his ground back. Diego Lima, I picked him to win. Leon Edwards, the first time I actually picked Leon to win. It was the first time I picked against him. Damian Maia, I knew he was going to win. It was more about the age thing, but still, I felt he was good enough. Wonderboy Thompson, I knew that Bilal's going to win because Wonderboy was being fed to all kinds of wrestlers at this point. Lucan, I felt he can win if he's smart, but I've picked against him, I think. No, I didn't. I have a video about it here on the channel. No, I didn't post back then. Shit. I had a video somewhere. I remember I sent it this way. Sean Brady, I knew he was going to win, but not by TKO. Gilbert Burns, I knew he was going to win, but I felt it was going to be a very close fight. I felt that Gilbert would gas. I think there is a video about me picking him. And then only now against Edwards, because I felt Edwards leveled up a lot since their previous fight, did I pick Edwards. So this is my justification to tell you guys. I've always been a fan of his. Like most of his fights I picked him to win. And I remember I defended him skill-wise, not personality-wise, for a lot of fans. But people just ragged on me, just came for me, etc. And look now. Now suddenly everybody loves him. Like he's God's gift to mankind. And it's really shocking because it's been getting worse. The hypocrisy in the whole UFC scene, the whole MMA scene, in fact. Like even in the regional scene, this stuff happens. And it's all these new eyes that's been brought to the UFC. And I don't like this culture that much because we see flip-floppy people. They can't stand their ground. And it's really weird to me. And me as a person, I can't do that. I'll stand my ground on certain subjects. Certain stuff is interchangeable because there's circumstantial stuff around it that can change. But not in fighting. And I don't understand why this happened. But in a way I do as well. Because he stole Leon's thunder. Everybody was like headshot dead and all this stuff after the Usman wins. Now, Leon stole that. The only problem is it's not genuine. It's disingenuous. And people really need to be honest with themselves. They need to say, okay, congrats for the win, but I might not be a fan of you as a person. That means you respect him as a fighter, but not as a person, and you can move on with your life. You can always say, I think he will win for these legitimate reasons. Not because I like how he beat Leon Edwards. But, yeah, in a perfect world, people will stand their ground and stand on their business. I come from a place where I'm like that. But most people, clearly, in MMA, well, this happens in other sports as well. That's why I don't watch other sports much, outside of them not being as interesting. I don't want to know how bad this is in F1, for example. But anyway, point is, I call these people out and I will not back down from it. Guys, we can't be like this. We need to, it's a moral problem because it's just, yeah, and I see this is going to happen. Well, it's happening with Israel Adesanya versus Dricus. People hate Dricus because of the stuff that he said before the Sean Strickland fight, and they hate that he won via a very close decision. Now they're on the bandwagon again to say Izzy is good. Meanwhile, this is post Izzy being kind of exposed by MMA Guru and a lot of other people for the dog shit. Well, you can Google it if you don't know about this. And now he's insane and awesome and all this stuff. Meanwhile, people were ragging on him as well before he even fought Strickland. I remember I've had to defend him against Pereira fans in the rematch, and then he won. I remember I was one of the few people who picked Izzy to beat Pereira in the rematch now. Now, I had my reasonings for it because of the previous kickboxing fights and a few things I saw. And exactly what I said is what happened. Exactly. Now, I've been a fan of Izzy for years, and even as a person, but I didn't know about the dog stuff and stuff like that. I see, that's morally questionable. Now, I would not be like, I would not feel right if I went to bed saying, now I'm suddenly an Izzy fan if he came back and won the belt. It's morally, it's not right. And we see these narratives happen too often. And this is where I'm going to throw out a feeler here. Do you guys feel that some of the MMA media, on YouTube specifically, have been perpetuating this as well? I have. There's a few bigger channels that like building false narratives and then pushing them. And people who are fans of these channels jump on those bandwagons. And yeah, it sucks. I don't like it. We should rather just appreciate the fighting for what it is. But yeah, cheers, guys.